Today's speaker is Sharyn Alfonsi, an Emmy Award-winning journalist who is correspondent for 60 Minutes Sports. The Tyndall Report describes her as one of the most visible American journalists on television. On May 16, almost a year ago, I had learned that the Chancellor was trying to arrange a meeting with Ms. Alfonsi when he was in New York City, and I thought I would write her. Sharon, I wrote, your career has your fellow alumni talking, and we are hoping that you will be able to meet the Chancellor. He would love to know about your time at Ole Miss. Then I made sure she knew that we were interested in her, and she said, Will, thank you so much for the note. The last time I was called to meet with the Chancellor, my roommate and I had clipped tulips from the grove to brighten our dorm room. It turns out that the grove is not a cutting garden. Oops. Sharyn Alfonsi is such a winsome personality because she is so transparent. More importantly, she's an intrepid reporter who is committed to informing the public. There is a buzz about her among the elite of the networks. After leaving Ole Miss, Ms. Alfonsi worked at KHOG in Fort Smith, Arkansas, WVEC-TV in Norfolk, Virginia, KIRO-TV, the CBS affiliate in Seattle, and the CBS affiliate WBZ-TV in Boston, before joining the parent network in New York in 2003 as a correspondent and as an anchor. She left CBS in 2008 to join ABC News. Then last February, she accepted a position with 60 Minutes Sports, a sports news magazine that airs on sister network Showtime, where Ms. Alfonsi is doing more in-depth reporting. 60 Minutes co-produces 60 Minutes Sports. Thus, Ms. Alfonsi now is back at CBS. More significantly, today she is back home. And we can say, Sharon, welcome home. Faculty, distinguished guests, graduates, relatives, and friends, please welcome Sharyn Alfonsi, a distinguished Ole Miss grad.
Thank you. Thank you. What an honor this is to be here, Mr. Meredith, to be here with you today. It's just unbelievable. And I'm sitting here next to Curtis Wilkie, so my heart's about stopped. So I'm going to try to pull it together for you all. Dean Norton, parents, faculty, friends, and graduates, good afternoon and congratulations. To be clear, I know exactly why I was chosen to give this amazing opportunity to speak to you on such an important day. It is not because of my impressive journalism awards. It is not because you want to hear stories from war zones. It is not even because of my terrific head of big Southern hair. I know the one and only reason I must be here is that Shepard Smith was clearly not available. Still, let me thank you for this tremendous honor. I graduated from Ole Miss with a degree in journalism, as the dean said, roughly 104 years ago today. There was no journalism school at that time. It wasn't a popular choice. It was believed that the smart students went to the School of Pharmacy, because clearly it takes a genius to count pills and hand out ointment. Those who were especially talented pursued fine arts degrees, because you need to spend tens of thousands of dollars on your college education before you make pottery. And then there were the kids from the School of Engineering. Now, I actually didn't ever hang out with anyone from the School of Engineering, but neither did anyone else. So I think you get the idea. Still, it was believed that journalism students were the misfits, the odd ones. Looking at you all today, next to this new gorgeous journalism school, I am delighted to see that nothing has changed. It looks a little like Scooby-Doo's mystery van got lost and you all hopped out the back. I see the Velmas, sporting glasses and comfortable shoes, with dreams of working at NPR or The Economist. The Freds, who hope their good looks and smart ascots might lead to a seat at the anchor desk at the local TV station. And of course, the Shaggies, those who spend a little too much time inside the smoke-filled booth at Rebel Radio, emerging only for Scooby snacks. Now, parents, if you fear your child is a Shaggy, and a tip is they may be wearing flip-flops or Tevas with their caps and gowns today, don't worry. The good news is you will be seeing a lot of them. They will likely be living in your basement for the next 10 years, emerging every time they have a problem with the Wi-Fi. But I am here to deliver good news to you all today, graduates. As you know, the economy is just pumping. High-paying journalism jobs are everywhere. And as a person who has lived in New York City for the last decade, I am delighted to report that the media elite has absolutely no preconceived notions about people from Mississippi. And that story about the Elvis impersonator, who may or may not have been set up by a karate instructor, who may or may not have tried to poison the president, really helped things. I'm here to tell you everything that I know, so this will take roughly 23 seconds. When I was applying for jobs my senior year, I sent my resume tape to 24 television stations. Most of them did not call or write back. But one news director did write back. Here's what he wrote, and this is an excerpt from the actual letter. Dear Ms. Alfonsi, thank you for your application for the news reporter position. Unfortunately, we have hired a qualified applicant. The word qualified was underlined. I know you are beginning your career, so please allow me to give you a bit of feedback. Your reporting skills show some promise. However, you need a lot of work. Your hair is too big. Your accent is too thick. And overall, you look a little equine on camera. Now, for those of you who didn't catch that, he just called me equine. He said I looked like a horse. He went on, best of luck with your career in television. I look forward to seeing more of your work. Now, then he signed his name, and side note, it looked like the kind of writing of a serial killer. Now, a normal person would have finished a bottle of Maker's Mark and started filling out applications at the racetrack. But I was actually encouraged by this letter. He said he wanted to see more of my work. This leads me to my first piece of advice. Do not take no for an answer. Not when you're applying for jobs, not when you actually get a job. People will tell you, no, we're not hiring. No, I don't want to do an interview with you. No, you may not sleep on my porch and use my cat as a pillow until I change my mind. Keep pressing. You are applying for work in journalism, not trying to get hired as a social secretary. The people who may hire you respect grit. They respect tenacity. And in my experience, I have found they are generally unlikely to issue a restraining order. Now, if you, like me, were raised by a beautiful, genteel mother with exceedingly good manners, being pushy will make you wildly uncomfortable. But keep at it. Prove that you want it. The food court at the mall is littered with journalism students who didn't fight for it. Fight for it. And if you somehow get an offer to do any job, no matter how small or insignificant in the field you want to work in, take it. There is no job too small. Yes, it is true if you do the math. Or, since you're a journalism graduate, if you have your roommate do the math. You would likely make more money working at a Cracker Barrel than in your first job in journalism. And if you worked at Cracker Barrel, you would get to eat your weight in delicious fried apples and get discounts on sock monkeys. But take the journalism job. It will pay off eventually. You will never work harder, but you will never have more fun. It will not be easy. You will want to quit. I've wanted to quit a dozen times over the last decade. Really? I have to come in at 2 a.m. and turn a story for Good Morning America because Lindsay Lohan forgot her underpants again? Really? I'm 8 months pregnant and there's no one else at this entire network you can send to cover a hurricane. And seriously, after I just spent 5 hours in the driving rain covering the hurricane, you're gonna call and complain about my hair? Really? For every one of those crappy days, you'll have 10 great ones. Really? I'm going to the White House today to interview the president? Really? I'm spending the day watching the strapping young men on the Yale crew team work out? And I'm getting paid for this? Fantastic. And while those days might make you feel great, on top of the world almost, you might even think, hey, I've made it, and relax and get comfortable, here's my next piece of advice. Don't get comfortable, ever. I recently got a job at 60 Minutes Sports. The show is entirely produced and presented by the 60 Minutes team you're used to seeing every Sunday night, but it appears on Showtime, so technically we could cuss. Now I won't, but we could. It is the dream I have always wanted to have, that job. Actually, when I was little, I dreamed of being Mrs. George Michael, but it became pretty clear when he married a man, that wasn't a great option. So I set my sights on CBS, and specifically on 60 Minutes. I wanted to be a great reporter, not an anchor, a reporter. In my mind, Mike Wallace's blistering interviews were art. No one was cooler than Ed Bradley. But I set my sights on 60 Minutes after watching a young Meredith Vieira go head-to-head with casino magnate Steve Wynn. I can't remember what she asked him, but he ripped his mic off and at one point threatened to strangle her. It was delicious. I knew in that moment I wanted to do that. Not get strangled, but the other part. Working my way up the ladder in local news directors displaying bouts of seriously impaired judgment offered me jobs to anchor the news. Now, for those of you who don't know, anchoring in a local market generally means you get more money, you have some editorial control, and best of all, you might even get your face on the side of a bus or a billboard right next to an advertisement for check cashing or a gentleman's club. In a word, prestige. It would be a more comfortable life, I was sure, but I had my eye on being a reporter and knew that anchoring would take me off the streets. So to the bewilderment of my bosses, I passed the jobs up. If you're not too comfortable, it's always easier to leave, to move on, and hopefully to move up. So now that I have my dream job, you'd think I'd relax and get comfortable. You'd be wrong. See, the thing is, when you have your dream job, especially when people like Scott Pelley, Leslie Stahl, and Morley Safer work just down the hall, you're pretty sure you're the admissions mistake. I am fairly confident that I am. This is not false modesty. It is a fact. I am not the smartest person who ever worked in a newsroom. I do not have an Ivy League education or an exotic accent that makes me sound worldly. But I am scrappy as hell. And in journalism, scrappy counts. Which brings me to my third piece of advice. There are no shortcuts. I used to work for ABC News. Disney owns ABC News, in case you didn't know. When I arrived there, they called me, quote, a cast member, and told me that I got special perks at the theme parks. One of my colleagues later informed me that at Disney, you can pay extra money to get a pass that allows you essentially to get to the front of the line for rides. I found this appalling and then immediately asked, where do I get one? But it turns out the thing is, if you cut to the front of the line, you just don't enjoy the ride as much, really. You need to sweat with the masses. You need to watch the weaker or perhaps wiser people who can't handle it quit. It's fun to make friends with people along the way. Not the guy wearing the I'm with Goofy t-shirt and bedazzled denim shorts, but the other people. Along the way, you will meet people you will never forget. Characters like no other. I can't remember half the stories I did, but I remember just about every fantastic photographer or producer along the way. They acted as my teachers, my psychiatrists, and often my parole officers. They still do. One of my favorites, Danny Murata, a veteran photographer from South Boston. He fought in Vietnam and reminded me whenever I got stressed, it's just TV, pal. It's just TV. Don't take yourself too seriously. No one else will. You work in journalism. You're not performing heart surgery. On a good day, you will tell somebody something they don't know. I have taxi drivers who do that regularly, and they don't get awards for it. On a great day, you'll dig deeper. You'll tell a story so well, it gets attention. It changes lives, policy, or conversation. Those days, I'm not gonna lie, are golden. Strive for them. And if you don't know exactly how to do that as you sit here right now, don't sweat it. You have made your way through what I believe is honestly one of the best journalism schools in the country. Still, most of the important lessons you're gonna learn about journalism, you've yet to learn. Your professors are passing you on to a new set of teachers, newspaper editors with nicotine patches, guys carrying a camera in one hand and a Dunkin' Donuts coffee in the other, and office secretaries who know more than you will ever forget. So listen to them. Be humble. And graduates, this is the most important thing I can tell you. Be nice to everyone. It is great to have an important or interesting job, but I am telling you that in the long run, it is more important than almost anything you do to be nice. Now, since we're in the South, and most people are already pretty nice, I feel I should clarify. Don't confuse nice with what I call stupid nice. Nice is carrying a tripod for a photographer who's already loaded down with equipment. Stupid nice is saying to him, don't worry, you don't need to carry a light kit too. I'm a natural beauty. Nice is congratulating a colleague when they do a good job. Stupid nice is saying to that same colleague, you did such a good job, why don't you just go ahead and interview the president instead of me? Don't be stupid nice, be nice. There will be days when this will take everything you've got. I have met some honestly horrific people along the way, and right now I would like to take the opportunity to name each one of them by name. Seriously. There was one senior producer I worked for who was so nasty, she went out of her way to try and make my life miserable. Often she succeeded. She made me want to quit. Then I remembered something my father used to tell me before every track meet. Well, first he would say, make sure you tie your laces, Einstein. And then he'd say, ignore the competition and just run your race. Throughout your career, people will try to distract you. Some will scream at you, others will say things behind your back, and a few feral animals will literally try to throw their stiletto heel in your lane and trip you. Keep your eyes straight ahead, and graduates, run your race. Don't worry about what others are doing. They're nothing more than a distraction. Drown out the critics. Don't engage in office politics or gossip. Don't worry about the guy next to you. Run your race. Now, I am the first to admit I am a cautionary tale here. I was running so hard, working so much, I looked up one day and realized suddenly, oh crap, I forgot to have kids. It was literally like that. I was opening Christmas cards from friends, and suddenly their babies were teenagers. The good news is I was married and had been for 15 years to a man who is a saint, and fortunately we keep the house stocked with lots of wine, so we quickly remedied the situation, and I now have 2 toddlers. But y'all, I am 40 years old and I have 2 toddlers. I am exhausted. So, can you have it all? Yes, you can. But can you have it all at once? Not so much. Sometimes it will be all about your career. Other times it'll be about your family or your kids. Expect it to shift. Expect it to change. And that is okay. That is life. Your life will have chapters, complete with crazy characters, villains, and a plot you can't even imagine as you sit here today. It's a lot like a Scooby-Doo episode. You're gonna see things you can't believe. Surround yourself with good friends. Keep your eyes on the road ahead. The Haunted Mansion is not a great shortcut. Break up the plots of villains. And don't worry about Scooby snacks. You're an Ole Miss grad. Grab a bourbon and enjoy the ride. Thank you all. Kiss your parents, hug your mothers. Good luck and congratulations.